What if everything you believe about aging after 65 is quietly incomplete, and that missing piece is the reason so many older adults feel exhausted, disconnected, or like life is shrinking instead of expanding? Something doesn't add up here. Millions of seniors in the United States are doing all the right things, yet according to CDC aging reports, nearly 1 in 4 adults over 65 still report frequent fatigue, loneliness, or declining motivation. So, what is being overlooked? A retired professor recently said something that made older adults pause in silence, some even tear up, not because it was dramatic, but because it was uncomfortably true. And the real explanation starts much earlier in life than anyone expects. Let's slow this down and trace it back. In early adulthood, most people aren't thinking about aging at all. According to long-term studies from the Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest-running studies on human happiness, habits formed in your 20s and 30s quietly shape how your body and mind function decades later. Sleep routines, food patterns, stress response, even how often you move your body, all begin building what researchers now call your health trajectory. At this stage, the body is forgiving. You can skip sleep, eat poorly, ignore stress signals, and still feel fine the next day. But something important is being stored away, almost like invisible debt. Then comes the 40s. This is where researchers like Dr. Luigi Ferrucci from the National Institute on Aging say the slow shift begins. Muscle mass naturally declines about 3 to 8% per decade after 30. But after 40, the process accelerates if not actively maintained. Blood sugar regulation becomes less stable. Recovery slows. Inflammation quietly increases. But most people are too busy to notice. Work, family, responsibility. Everything feels urgent except the body's quiet signals. So people adapt without realizing they are slowly compensating instead of restoring. And then something strange happens after 70. This is the part most people ignore. The shift is not sudden, it is revealing. The body stops compensating. What was once hidden becomes visible. A walk that used to be effortless now feels like effort. Memory feels slower. Energy doesn't return the same way after rest. According to the National Institute on Aging, nearly 40% of adults over 70 experience significant muscle loss known as sarcopenia, but most are never formally diagnosed until it affects independence. And here is the twist most people miss. It is not age alone causing this decline. It is decades of accumulation finally showing up at once. The breaking point is usually not medical at first. It is everyday life. A chair feels lower than it used to. Grocery bags feel heavier. Conversations feel more tiring. Seniors often describe it as "I don't feel like myself anymore." But what is actually happening is a combination of reduced muscle efficiency, slower neurological signaling, and decreased mitochondrial energy production, a concept studied heavily by Dr. David Sinclair at Harvard Medical School. The body is still functioning, but at a reduced capacity that no longer hides itself. This is where the fallout begins. Health changes become lifestyle changes. People stop going out as much. Driving at night feels uncomfortable. Social circles shrink, not always because of choice, but because of fatigue. According to AARP surveys, over 35% of adults over 70 report reducing social activity due to physical exhaustion, not lack of interest. Financially, this also matters. Reduced mobility often leads to increased healthcare dependency, home assistance costs, and, in some cases, earlier than expected assisted living transitions. But beneath all of this is something deeper. Identity shift. The sense of "I used to be capable" quietly turns into "I need help now." And here is where many seniors try the wrong fixes. They are often told to just rest more, or take it easy, or "you're older now, slow down." Some are told to avoid exercise altogether for safety. But modern geriatric research shows the opposite. A landmark study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that even individuals in their 80s can regain muscle strength with light resistance training. Yet outdated advice still dominates conversations. Over-reliance on rest actually accelerates decline. Another common mistake is focusing only on medication instead of movement, hydration, and nutrition synergy. And that brings us back to the retired professor's message. He didn't speak about miracle cures or complicated systems. He spoke about returning to simple, consistent truths that most people overlook while chasing complexity. And that is where everything starts to change, because science today is actually surprisingly hopeful. Research on blue zones, popularized by Dan Buettner, shows that longevity is not just genetics. It is daily structure, movement, social connection, plan-forward diets, purpose, and most importantly, consistency over intensity. In places where people routinely live past 90, these habits are not treated like health routines. They are just life. So when we map this backward, the cause and effect becomes clear. Early habits build resilience. Midlife determines decline speed. And after 70, you don't suddenly become old. You simply become visible. The real question is not how did this happen? It is what can still be changed right now. Because even after 70, the body is still responsive. Muscle still rebuilds. The brain still forms new connections. Energy can still improve, but only when the system is reactivated, not abandoned. Here are 3 direct actions that older adults can begin today. First, rebuild movement into daily life, not as exercise, but as function. Short walks after meals, light resistance movements using body weight or bands, and standing up every 30 to 40 minutes if sitting for long periods. The goal is not intensity, it is consistency. Second, stabilize nutrition around protein and hydration. Many seniors unknowingly consume too little protein, which accelerates muscle loss. Simple additions like eggs, fish, lentils, and dairy can significantly improve strength maintenance when combined with adequate water intake throughout the day. Third, reconnect socially with intention, not passive interaction, but real engagement. Studies from the National Institute on Aging show that loneliness increases risk of cognitive decline by up to 50%. A weekly visit, phone call, or group activity is not emotional support alone. It is biological support. Now, one important warning based on evidence. Inactivity after 70 is not neutral. It is progressive. Every month of reduced movement compounds muscle loss and increases fall risk. The body does not pause aging. It continues responding to how it is used. And here is something to sit with. If simple daily habits can slow decline, and even reverse parts of it, then how many years of inevitable aging were actually lost unnoticed patterns repeating for decades? That question changes everything. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on one habit you've been doing on autopilot and consider what happens if you gently shift it this week. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that aging is not a stop sign, it is a system that still responds to care. Leave a comment with one habit you want to change, even if it feels small. And if you want more real, grounded conversations about aging, health, and longevity, subscribe for the next chapter.